Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is a monthly budget recap for February 2022 using the printable version of the Budget by Paycheck Workbook from the Budget Mom. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. So I get a lot of questions here on YouTube and on Instagram about closing out budgets and the steps to use the Budget by Paycheck Workbook to close out your budget. And so when I do these monthly budget recaps, generally I have everything figured out already and I'm just taking you through my Where Did My Money Go worksheets. For this video, it's going to be a little bit longer because I'm actually going to take you through step by step and we're going to go through and put together my Where Did My Money Go worksheets here on camera. This is the first time I'm attempting a video like this, so I want to apologize in advance if it goes off the rails at all. I'm also a lefty, which is a big part of why I tend to not write on camera because I'm blocking everything as I'm writing, but hopefully that won't be too much of an irritation for you guys. So starting out in the February monthly view, as you can see, everything here on my monthly spread is checked off. I have reached all of these savings goals for things that I have written on my monthly calendar and all of my bills have been paid. I did go through my paycheck budget tracker for the paycheck I received on February 3rd and close that out. I have not closed out my paycheck budget tracker for the paycheck I received on February 17th, and that's because I'm still in this pay period even though I'm doing my February budget recap. So I got paid on February 17th, and that money and that budget has to last me until my next paycheck, which is on March 3rd. So even though I'm closing out my February budget, I am rolling over cash from February into March from this paycheck, so that paycheck budget tracker is not yet complete. I'm still in this pay period. Now, before we get into any more details about closing out my budget, I do want to say that budgeting is a very personal thing. Every single person's budget is different because their priorities are different. And anytime I share my budget with you all here on YouTube or over on Instagram, you know, it's with having in mind that my budget isn't going to look like anyone else's and no one else's budget is going to look like mine. I am a single person and I live on my, I don't own a home. And so those things factor in pretty significantly into my budget. And that's not everybody's situation. That's my personal situation. That's why this is my personal budget. So in order to be able to close out your budget, you really do have to have a handle on your expenses. That's why tracking your expenses throughout the month is such an important part of your budget. As I'm tracking my expenses throughout the month, I do use highlighters in order to indicate the different budget categories that each purchase falls under. And I do that so that at the end of the month, when I have to add everything together, it's a little easier for me to differentiate between the categories. Now, I have different expense trackers for different areas of my budget. I have an expense tracker for my checking account, my main checking account. I have an expense tracker for my variable expense checking account, which really is only where I pull my groceries from. And then I have an expense tracker for any cash spending that I do. What I've done in order to make it easier for us is that for every one of my expense trackers, I've gone through and I've added up all of the categories already. So for my checking account, I have my income total, my savings total, miscellaneous bills, utilities, eating out, miscellaneous, housing, and giving. For my variable expense tracker, I have my savings and my groceries added up. And then for my cash spending, I have savings, eating out, miscellaneous, and gas already added up. I thought that would make everything a lot easier. Now, the next pages that come into play with regards to the paycheck the Budget by Paycheck Workbook are the debt payment plan and your monthly net worth tracker. Now, I am not currently utilizing the debt payment plan, and the reason I'm not is because I'm not currently paying off any debt. The only debt that I have is student loan debt, and I'm not paying it right now. My loans are on hold until May, so this page is going to stay blank for us. I did start figuring out my net worth. Oh Lord, I hope that's not an indication as to how this video is going to go. My monthly net worth last month. So as you can see that the day that I actually figure out my net worth is the last day of every month. That is February 28th, which is actually today. I'm filming this on February 28th. I don't think it's going to post for probably at least another week or so, but I am filming it on the last day of the month. And it gives you a place to put in what your net worth from last month was. Mine was $175,810.99. Now, I said in my January budget recap that I wanted to keep my assets private, which is why there's a post-it note here. My liabilities, I've been public about that in the past. It's just my student loans, and I have the total here. I did add up my assets at the bottom. That way we would know what that total is. And so now what we're going to do is we're basically going to figure out my net worth for this month and then comparing it to last month. So the first step in this process is going to be to, and the great thing about the Budget by Paycheck Workbook is that they do give you equations, and I can actually zoom this in. I think that might make it a little easier to see. But basically they do give you equations, which is great, and I think it makes it really helpful, and it makes this workbook very easy to use. So for figuring out your net worth, you have to do your total assets minus your total liabilities. So my total assets, as I figured out up here, are $223,539.76. And we're going to subtract that we're going to subtract my liabilities from that, which are $44,970.88. And that's going to give me my net worth. Okay, and my net worth should be $178,000. I said that confusing. $178,568.88. Boo. Okay, so let's put that in here. Hang on, I'm gonna actually, a lot of times I film standing up. I don't know that I've ever shared that with you all. It's just easier for me, but I am going to write this in, and I'm gonna write it in sitting down. So again, sorry that I block what I'm writing down as I'm doing it. That's just, the life of a lefty. So we have my total net worth written in there. Now we have to compare last month to this month. So in order to figure out your change in amount, you have to subtract B, which is this month's net worth. You have to subtract last month's from this month. So we have this month's on on my calculator right now. And then I'm going to subtract last month's, which again is written right here at the top of the page. So minus $175,810.99. And that's going to give us our difference, our change in amount. Okay, so I'm going to write that in. Whoop. I'm banging everything around here. So we have $2,757.89. And then change in percentage is basically just taking that number, dividing it by your net worth from last month. So dividing it, I'm a little off here, by 175,810.99. And then it says move the decimal place over two places. I just multiply it by 100. And that's 1.57%. And now we have figured out this month's net worth and then compared it to last month. So I had an increase in my net worth by $2,757.89, which is great. That's honestly a little bit lower than I would have liked. And the reason why is because of the stock market. I do have a 401 and a 403B, and those change based on the stock market. And in comparing my accounts from last month to, you can see my wire of my mic. In comparing my accounts from last month to my accounts from totals from this month, I've lost money in my retirement accounts. I've actually lost a pretty significant amount of money since the beginning of the year. But that is, it is what it is. That's the way the stock market is. So first page, monthly net worth is done. Next, we are now going to get into the meat and potatoes of the Where Did My Money Go worksheets of closing out your budget, the first page of which is the monthly budget category breakdown. I love this sheet. It is one of my favorite sheets to do. It really does give me all the info that I need as to how I did, if I stuck to my budget or not, how it went. I actually think I'm going to take this page out of the planner. That's one of the things that I like so much about discs, is that you can just remove a sheet and lay it flat on a table. I love that. So we are going to start out with figuring out our total monthly inflow. Now this is a bit different than previous versions of the Budget by Paycheck Workbook, the use of the word inflow and how to figure it out. And so I'm still getting the hang of it. I did figure this out beforehand just so that I knew I was getting the right amounts, but we're gonna go through it together. So basically the first thing you need is your starting balance. Now your starting balance is what I brought from January 2022 into February 2022. That is what I had in my bank accounts and in cash on February 1st, 2022. Okay, and I can actually see that on my expense trackers. So if I pull over my workbook, when we look at my expense trackers, this $271.38 is what was in my account on February 1st. And if I add that to the $29.63 that I had in my variable expense checking account, and then the $80 I had in cash, that gives us our starting balance for the month of February. And that number was $381.01. Okay. Now the next section is your earned income, and I'm having a little bit of a hard time, or at least this month I did, with regards to kind of figuring out exactly what that was. Now, last month it was just my paychecks for my regular job. That's all it was. This month I did get a little extra cash for something I had to do that was work related. It was related to my regular full-time job, and I didn't know if I should put it in earned income or other. It is earned income. It's related to my job, so I ended up putting it in earned income. I also received my first paycheck from Etsy. It was $313. It was $3.13. It was a really small amount, but to me, it is earned income, and so I'm going to include it in earned income. And so my earned income total for February was, I'm going to write it in, $6,829.43. So that was my 2 paychecks from my full-time job, a little extra cash that I got with regards to my full-time job for something I had to do for work, and then that $313 from Etsy. I did recently get monetized here on YouTube, but I have not received a paycheck from YouTube yet. It probably is going to be at least a couple months until I do. They're a month behind on paying people who are monetized, but then on top of that, you have to reach a certain income threshold to even get paid out. I don't know that I'm going to in my first month, so it could be a couple months before I actually receive any type of paycheck from YouTube. So that's what earned income is. For other income, what I included in this category was I did get my refund for my taxes. It was $40, so that was put in here. And then anytime I purchased something, there was like, I think twice this month where I purchased something and for my mom and she paid me back. So the total for other income for this month is $111. Now, I did not use any savings this month. That would be if I pulled money out of my savings account for a vacation, if I pulled money from a sinking fund because I had to use it this month. That's the type of situation that would go under savings used, and I did not have any this month, so that is a 0. So what I'm going to do to get my total monthly inflow is add my starting balance, my earned income, and my other income together. And if I do that, my total monthly inflow is $7,321.44, which is great. Now, when we go into the actual budget category breakdown, I base my monthly budget on how much I budget per paycheck. So I get paid twice a month. That means 2 paychecks per month. For groceries specifically, every paycheck I pull $200 out for groceries. If I multiply that by 2, that's $400. And that's exactly what I do for every single category here, or at least the first few. With regards to savings, I've always just had it in my mind that I should be saving around $3,000 a month. Utilities, I just have in the past added up my total with regards to my utilities and rounded up just a little bit. My utilities monthly budget is going to be changing, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. And then giving, if you've been watching my monthly budget recaps, my giving monthly budget was $20. That was because that's what I contributed monthly to my church. I now am making an effort to do $100 monthly donations to a different charity every month. And so I've upped that budget to $120 per month. So with regards to what I spent in these categories, that is where our that's where our expense trackers come into play. So again, I went through the expense trackers and I added up totals for each, for my checking account, my variable expense checking account, and then for my cash. And so what we do, or what you have to do, is basically now just go through and, okay, so I have my income and I have my income total. Well, income's not, we already figured out income. Let's skip that. First one's groceries. So I know I only have groceries out of my grocery budget, so I already have the total for that. And then next one is eating out. Well, I have eating out under my checking account, and then I'm going to add that to the eating out that I have. That I have for my cash. So I did put all these totals together, but that's basically what you're going to do to figure out your monthly spend. You go through your expense tracker and you add all of these expenses together for one specific category at a time. So for groceries, the total for this month that I spent was $246.17, which means I was under budget, which is why in the difference category I have green listed here, and I was under budget by $135.83, which is a lot under budget for me. And my percentage of my total monthly inflow was 3.4%. Now let's go through in more detail as to how I got each of these numbers. So again, monthly spent is me adding up all of the grocery budget line items in my expense trackers. The difference is me subtracting what I spent from what my total monthly budget was. So 400 minus 246.17 gives me $135.83 under budget. Now, in order to figure out your percent of total monthly inflow, there is a calculation at the bottom of the monthly budget category breakdown. So basically, you're supposed to take your monthly spent divided by total monthly inflow, and then again, I always added or multiply it by 100 to make it easier. So basically, if I type in here that I spent $246 17, I want to divide that by my total monthly inflow, which is $7,321.44. And then I'm going to multiply that by 100, and it gives me 3.36. I round it up to 3.4%. And that's how you're going to do it for every single category in your budget. So we have all of my major budget categories all listed out with the monthly spent, the difference, and the percentage. Now, if you're going through this sheet and you don't have an item here that says March starting balance or the starting balance of the coming month, you will get your budget wrong. The budget by paycheck workbook, the budget by paycheck method are a zero-based budget. If your inflow and your outflow aren't equal, your budget's not going to be balanced. So just like we had our starting balance, what we brought from January into February listed as part of our inflow, we also have to have what we're taking from February into March as part of our outflow. And so this starting balance is what you have in all of your checking accounts and your cash at the end of the month. So on the last day of the month, which I haven't made a purchase since the 26th, I had $323.88 in my checking account. I had $100.91 in my variable expense checking account, and then in cash, I had $57. So if I add all of those together, my starting balance for March is going to be $481.79, and I do include it as part of my percentage over here, so it's 6.6%. And this item will allow me to have a balanced budget. So in order to come up with my total, all I do is add all of those categories together, and we will do that now. Okay, everyone, I added it up and I came out with not the right number. And I was so confused because I did figure this out beforehand to make sure that I was catching any errors that I had, and I actually did catch an error that I had. I re-added it all up. It does equal out to $7,000, and I'm going to write it in here, $7,321.44. Now this number, this total here, should equal your total monthly inflow. And for us, it does. So in this box here, I always write how much I'm off by, and fortunately this month, I can say that I'm off by $0, which is awesome. So we have officially finished the February monthly budget category breakdown, and we were able to get a full-on zero-based budget. Our outflow and our inflow matched completely, which is great. So now that that sheet is done, we can move on to some more specifics. The next page is the February monthly debt and savings breakdown. So again, I'm going to pull that sheet. I'm going to pull that sheet out. Now, I don't have debt, as I've said, or I shouldn't say that. I do have debt. I'm not paying on my debt right now, so we're not going to utilize this debt side, but we are definitely going to utilize the savings side. And I really like this sheet. It allows me to get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of my savings and making sure that I am putting my money where my goals are. So for this section, the first thing we're going to do is add in our total monthly income. And our total monthly income for the month of February was $6,940.43. Now, how did I get that number? Well, I don't know that I'm doing it right. I'm going to be totally honest with you all, but it doesn't say inflow, so I don't take this number here. Instead, what I did is I believe I added up my earned income and my other income. So I didn't factor in my starting balance, and I didn't factor in any savings used, though I didn't use any savings in the month of February. So all that we have written in for total monthly income on this sheet is just my earned income and my other income. Now the total monthly saved was $4,460.63, and we figured that out on the last page. Now, percentage of the income saved is going to be what you saved divided by your monthly income that you have up here, once again multiplied by 100. Then it gives me a 64.3% of income saved, which makes me very happy. Now, how did that all break down, right? Where did this money end up? What did I put it towards? And that's where this section here comes down. So I've already listed in all of my different savings categories. I have my house savings, my sinking funds, the 2022 savings challenges from the Budget Mom, the 52-week challenge that I am doing, my $5 challenge, and my emergency fund. So I'm going to add in all of the totals for these different categories, and you get this information again from your expense trackers. So for my house, I saved a total of $3,299.63, and I am going to figure out the percent of category saved. Now again, the Budget Mom does put these little equations down at the bottom for you. So for your percent of category saved, you're basically going to take the savings category total, you're going to divide it by your total monthly savings, and then you're going to multiply it by 100. So if I do $32.99.63 divided by 44.60.63, my percentage that I get is 74%. So now I have a breakdown of every savings category that's part of my budget, and I can look at this and see that the vast majority of the money I saved went towards my house savings, which to me is perfect. That is my number one savings goal. That is absolutely my top priority. I want most of my savings to go there. And then under that, we have the sinking funds, which I do think is the second most important category that I have with regards to savings. So this makes sense to me, and this makes me know that I'm putting my money in the right place with regards to savings. Once you have this monthly debt and savings breakdown done, you can move on to the monthly spending comparison. I really like this sheet. I didn't used to utilize it a lot. I really like it now. I think it's a great way to be able to fine-tune little areas of your budget that you want to be making progress on. And this is a really great way to know if you've been able to accomplish that. Now, this information for January, I got from my January Where Did My Money Go worksheets. And the information for February, we've already done. It's actually the monthly budget category breakdown. It's taking your spent category and your percent of total monthly inflow and just putting it right on here. So we already have all of that information. We just need to write it in. Okay, so now that I have all of my spent and percentages in for the month of February, you can actually do your comparison. Now, a big part of this, I think, is factoring in your inflow change. So basically what you're doing in this section right here is comparing your inflow from the previous month to your current month. And so I subtracted my February income from my January income. I made more in the month of February. So I had a positive inflow change of $488.69. So I made almost $500 more this month than I did in the month of January. And that to me is important because a lot of times when you make more, you spend more. And that definitely was a factor in my savings and my giving. Another reason why I think that's interesting is because it does factor into your percentages. Perfect example, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, if we look at my housing, I spent the same exact amount of money in January as I did in February, but look at my percentages. Okay, that was 8.8% of my monthly income in January, but only 8.2 in February. So it definitely makes a difference. In order to figure out the change amount, all you're doing is just subtracting January from February or vice versa to figure out the change. And as you can see, I've already put in my highlighter, and so I did a lot of underspending this month with compared to January, which I was actually really proud of because I did a no spend in January and I thought I did pretty good with that no spend. So I'm really proud of the progress or the fact that I'm under budget in so many categories. I do think part of that is because it is a little bit of a shorter month. So let me just fill in those change amounts. Okay, so now that those numbers are written in, we can actually compare what happened last month to this month. I underspent in groceries by a lot. I definitely knew that somehow I underspent a lot on groceries. I generally don't spend that little on groceries. For eating out, I spent under by 58 cents. I'm going to take it as a win. Definitely want to make sure I'm lowering that monthly spent though for March. It's definitely a category I'm going to be focusing on a little bit more. Underspent in gas, underspent in miscellaneous, definitely overspent in miscellaneous bills. I was really proud of my miscellaneous bills total for the month of January. I think that a big part of that was because of my no spend. Definitely spent a bunch more in the month of February, but I do want to hone in on that for March and try to better that. I spent more on savings by almost $350. Underspent on my utilities again because of all of the changes that are happening in my utilities, which is great. And then overspent a little bit in giving, which I'm totally fine with. So that is it with regards to closing out your budget using the Budget by Paycheck workbook from the Budget Mom and the Where Did My Money Go worksheets. I think this video is probably incredibly long, and I am so sorry about that. But a lot of people have been asking for me to kind of go through this step by step, and I do think it's really great and helpful to be able to go through it step by step, especially if you're new to this budgeting method. And I do hope you found this video to be helpful. If there was anything that was at all confusing, please do not hesitate to put a comment down below. We were able to go through the net worth tracker, the monthly budget category breakdown, the monthly debt and savings breakdown, as well as the monthly spending comparison. And I hope that you found all of that info helpful and interesting. As always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.